In this video, I'm going to show you how I created this prayer journal. You'll create this prayer journal with me, and during my process, I'm going to share with you how to take your concept to reality every step of the way. I'll show you how to get ideas. I'll show you how to use Bing to generate images. I'll show you how to deliver your product. And I'll show you how to convert a planner to a digital planner with hyperlinks that link to other pages in your planner. So stay tuned. And if you learn anything in this video, please don't forget to press that like button and subscribe. All right, so we are at Canva's home page. And for planners, I rarely ever use documents to create my planner. Usually I just use a regular template and I customize the size. I don't use the document template in Canva because it has certain limitations. I just go ahead and create a custom design. Now, before you create a custom design, you need to know, number one, the size, whether it's going to be placed on an iPad, whether it's going to be placed on a Samsung device. And usually I just go ahead and just click the custom design and I enter in my measurements. So I know that I'm going to be creating this planner as a printable planner. It's going to be 8.5 by 11 pages. But if you're creating a planner, you'll want to make sure that you know the size. Take the measurement of an iPad if that's where you're going to be creating your planner, and you can just click in the width and the height, the measurements of your iPad or whatever device that you're going to eventually host your digital planner on. Now, again, I'm creating this planner for someone special, and it's going to be a printable planner, but I may later on try and convert it to a digital planner to show you how the hyperlinking works. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the 8.5 by 11 and open up my document. Now on the left panel, you're going to get a section with templates. I'm not going to use those pre-made templates, but you can certainly look through there and see if there's anything that you want to use. I always start from a clean page and work my way through the design. Now, it's very important to know who your audience is, because when you're creating a planner, you need to know what colors to use. For this planner, I know that I'm going to be creating it for a man, and I want to use colors that are neutral. So I'm going to look for kind of a stained glass effect to use as my background. But it's very important for you when you're creating planners to sell. You don't want to make all your planners pink or all your planners blue, because you don't know who's going to be purchasing these planners. I mean, if you know for sure that you have an all-woman audience, then yeah, create pink planners. But I'm going to search for a stained glass background. So in my elements section and in my search bar, I've typed in stained glass, and I'm just going to go through and see if there's anything that I can use under stained glass. Now I just added purple to my search, and I do seem to like this one that's kind of like a blue, purple, topaz color. So I'm just going to rotate it with those two arrows, and I'm going to set this image as my background. Now, if obviously this is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to turn down the opacity of this item by going to the transparency icon, and I'm just going to turn that down so that when I'm placing text on my background, I can see it better. So I'm going to go over now to my text and add a heading to my workspace. And in here, I'm going to type in there prayer. And I'm going to add a subheading and just type in there journal. And I'm going to bring that all the way up just underneath prayer. Now I'm going to change the color to prayer to something a little bit more matching the background. And then I'm going to bring that color all the way up to the top with that color chooser. And I'm also going to make it a little bit larger. Now I'm going to add a box or a shape underneath journal because I'm finding it a little bit difficult to read. So I'm going to go into elements. I'll clear the search bar there, and under shapes, I'm just going to add a square. I'm going to resize it and just place it underneath prayer, and then just make it wide enough so that it spans all the way to the end of the R. And I'm going to change the color of that shape to a lighter gray. Sometimes Canva does get a little finicky, so you have to come in and out, but overall, I love Canva. I'm now going to increase the kerning on journal. So I'll go into spacing and I'll adjust the letter spacing. I'm now going to add an effect to prayer just so that it stands out a little bit better. So I'll go to shadow and I'm going to change the shadow color to black. I'm going to increase the transparency and reduce the offset a little bit. I'm now going to add another text box just to put something else on top of prayer. So I'm going to come into this new text box and I'm going to change it to my. I'll change the font to one of my favorite fonts called Feeling Passionate. And I'm going to move that on top of prayer and just resize it a little bit. I'm now going to go back into elements and I'm going to search for a cross because I want to add a little bit more to my cover page. And I'm not liking that so much, so I'm just going to keep searching. I'm going to garbage can that. And I'll place this one on my workspace. I'm going to rotate it a little bit and just resize it to make it larger. I'm now going to change the color of the cross to white. So I'll just go up to the color chooser for that element. That'll open up a panel on my right side and I'll change it to white. Now I know that's a little bit difficult to see, so I'm going to add a shadow by going into edit and going down to shadows. And I'm going to add a drop shadow. And that will really make it pop. So I'm okay with how that looks right now. So I'm just going to go back. Now you'll recall earlier I mentioned that I was preparing this journal for someone special. And so I want to create a very special image to place on the cover page. So I'm going to use Copilot. This is Bing Copilot. It's free to use. And in here we can see that I have typed in a description up top. It says extremely detailed painting mixed with marker colors of a European teen boy with a brown mullet haircut. He's wearing a very cute white shirt with an Italian flag, and so on and so on. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this. But down below, we can see the images that Bing has returned back to me. Now, I did make one edit. And that was for Bing to remove the earring and to show the full body. And so we'll see the before images here. And then there'll be the after images just below this one. And there was one that I was very, very happy with, of the boy standing looking at the Bible with the rosary. And so that is the one that I'm going to use. Now, when you click the image, you get the option to download it, and that's what I did. I downloaded it onto my computer in my downloads folder, and now it's time for me to bring that image in. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm just going to drag that image right onto my workspace. We can see Canva is uploading it, and I'm going to remove the background because I don't need the background, and actually I'm only going to use the image of the boy standing, not the other one. So I'm going to go back into BG Remover and remove the photo on the right by just retouching in background remover, and I'll do that very, very carefully like this. And once I'm done, I'll go back, and now I'm just going to crop it and place the image in the area that I want. Now you'll notice that that shape that was behind journal has kind of disappeared into nowhere, and positions layers is your best friend. Whenever you can't reach elements, just click positions and then go to your left side and click on layers. And over there, you will see all the elements on your workspace. You can just click on those elements and move them up to a higher level where they'll be visible on your workspace. Now, obviously the boy, I want him to be in front too, so I'm going to move the boy to the front too. I'm going to take a little bit of time now to talk about Canva terms of service. Now, if you're using Canva to create your planners or create any types of designs that you are selling, and you're using Canva elements, and I mean elements that are objects or photos or stickers or anything under elements, you must return the purchaser back to a Canva template link so that the creator of that element can be rightfully credited and receive payment for their designs. You cannot just download your design as a PDF document and sell that PDF document. If you are in breach of Canva terms. Now, I'm not a lawyer. The other thing to note that if you are creating images that are created through Bing or any other AI generated product, you want to make sure that you are not selling trademarked designs. For example, the sneakers on this boy, they look like for example, the sneakers, you want to make sure that the sneakers aren't a trademarked design by a well-known company, well-known or other, it really doesn't matter. You can't be selling trademarked designs. So that's what you need to be aware of. Now, if you have not used any elements created by others, you're only using Canva shapes. And I mean the shapes like squares, rectangles, circles that are actually called shapes under elements. You're only using regular fonts. Then yes, you could definitely download those designs as a PDF and sell those PDF documents on your shop. But otherwise, it's probably just safe to be selling your designs as a Canva template link, leading the buyer back to Canva. Now, when I say shapes, I mean shapes under the elements section. If we click elements, and I'm just going to clear that search, it's the shapes under the section called shapes. You'll have squares there. You have squares with curved corners, lines, and arrows, and also text that is not Canva Pro fonts. If it's Canva Pro fonts, then you must lead the buyer back to Canva. So I hope that clears things up. Now, if you are using Canva elements, then the proper way to deliver that product is with a Canva template. And how do you? Let me show you. So if we click on the share button and we go down to more, we're going to find a button called template link. And you can just click on that purple button and copy that template link, and then you can deliver that in your shop after the buyer has purchased your product. Just provide them that specific template link. Now, what you don't want to be doing is providing a collaboration link. And the collaboration link is set at the beginning, because what happens is if you're providing them with a collaboration link, that means they can just go in and modify your original design, and you don't want that. Now, the other option is creating a public template link, and you can provide that too, but that's not going to give your buyer the option to make changes on their copy of the template. The proper way is to provide that Canva template link so that it makes a copy in their files and they can make any adjustments that they need. So that's all about providing the template links. Let's move on. Now we're going to create another page because I was thinking that I'd want to have like one page of a devotional quotation for my planner. So let's create another page, a page 2, and let's write something to honor this planner by. So I'll just add a little bit of text onto my workspace. So I'll go to the text box and I'll add a heading. And I'm just going to type in there a paragraph that will inspire me in my spiritual planning journey. And I'm just going to change the font to that Feeling Passionate font and just resize it until I'm satisfied with the result. And it's great that Canva has spell check because we can quickly correct the spelling of errors. So in the next section, we're going to add year-to-date calendars. We're going to go ahead and add another page. Now you'll notice that I have a couple of guides on my page. I have a guide up at the top, and then I have a guide down at the bottom. Now, if you've never used guides, all you have to do is go up to the top of your ruler and just slide the line down to a point where you want to ensure that you are maintaining consistency. So you can either go to the file section or you can just drop down that guide to where you want to place it. And that way you can match up or line up text boxes on every single page. Now those lines don't print, they're just there for you to guide you. And you can also do that from the file menu. Now you'll also want to lock these guides in place. So just go to the file menu, go to settings, and then lock those guides in place. That way you don't move them accidentally. For the year-to-date calendars, I usually don't create them from scratch. I usually just use a template that's already in Canva. And when you're searching for a year-to-date template, if you're using more than 1 year in your planner, for example, if you're going to be using a 2024 and a 2025 year-to-date calendar, make sure that you are using the same style. That way there is less work in terms of modifying fonts and adding lines and so forth. So you'll find templates that you can use under design, and I just searched for yearly calendars. I found this one, which I'm pretty happy with, and I can see that they have a couple of different templates for different years. So I added the 2024 one, and now I'm looking for the 2025 one. And I see it's there, so I'll just add it right to my page. So now I have 2 yearlies. I've got my 2024 and I've got my 2025. I'm going to get rid of that background text. I don't want it, so I'm just going to get rid of it on both of those pages. And now I want to kind of mimic the same fonts that I've been using throughout the calendar. So when you create a planner or any design, try and minimize the number of fonts that you're using. So choose 2 to 3 fonts and be consistent throughout your whole planner. Now for prayer, I really wanted to use Anton for that. So I'm going to switch that to Anton, and then I'm going to use that font to carry through out my planner as a heading. So I'm going to change that prayer heading to Anton. And then I'm going to go back to my annual calendar for 2024. Now, before I can place a heading in here, I have to crop this to the margins. Those are those guides that I created. They're not really margins, but I have to reduce enough that I can place a heading in there for the 2024. So once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to go to text and I'm going to add another heading in there, and I'm going to type in there 2024, and I'll bring that up. And I'm going to do the same thing for 2025. And to keep consistency, I'm just going to copy that text box and paste it onto my 2025 page. That way I don't have to worry about what size that text box is. I know it's going to be the same. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to adjust the font on the month, because again, I want to maintain consistency. So I'm going to change it to League Spartan, and then at the bottom, I'm going to click Change All, and that will change all the months on both pages. I'm going to create another page because we are now ready to create the months of the year. And you can go to Design and search for monthly calendars, but the best thing is to actually go back to the home page and to search for monthly planners for whatever year you're looking for. And you can open that up in another project. So once you've found a template that you like, what you can do is you can go to Grid View and you can select all of the pages in that design, and you can copy them by selecting one and keeping your Shift key pressed. You can press Control C and then go back to your design and press Control V to paste them. So this is a great way to add calendars to your design by copying and pasting from another design. Now, it's not exactly how I like it. I am going to remove the February 2025 and the month 0102 and replace it with my own heading. So I'm going to copy the headings that I have been using from other pages. So I'll delete January in 2025, and then I'll go up to page 4, I'll copy that heading and I'll bring it into my January. I'll paste it and I'll update the month and year in that monthly calendar. Then I'm going to go through and do the rest of the calendars. So I'm going to speed things up right now, and I'll be back once I'm done. Of course, I don't expect you to watch every single moment of this video, so you can feel free to fast forward or rewind. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to adjust the days in my monthly calendar. Right now, we can see that on the right side, it's kind of hanging off the guide on the side. So I need to crop that whole area. So I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to try and crop it by the edges. Now, unfortunately, what I'm noticing is that whoever created this calendar did not click into the table to add the numbers. And, sometimes people don't realize that you can actually click in the table to add numbers. So I'm taking a little bit of a different approach here, where I'm going to select everything on my workspace, and then I'm going to crop everything once it looks grouped. So now that I have everything grouped, I'm just going to grab it by the corner, and I'm going to resize it so that it's within my guides. And I'm also going to move it up a little bit just under January. And I'm also going to select the bottom part where it says to do and note, and I'm also going to move that up. I'm going to do the same to the rest of the months in the year, and I'll be right back. So I'm going to speed things up right now. All right, so let's take a look and see what we have created so far. If we go to grid view, we're going to see our entire project in one area. So we have our cover page, we have a little inspirational quote, we have our yearly 2025 and 2026, and then we have our months of the year. Now, we know that we'll have like our cover page, and then we'll have sort of like a nothing behind that cover page. And I kind of want to line up the pages so that when I'm looking at my weekly, I have on my left side a daily motivational page with my daily intentions. And then on my right side, have my weekly, where I have the days of the week and I'm having my reminders or appointments. And in order to do this, I need to make sure that my daily devotional and my weekly planner are appearing as facing one another. So I'm adding a blank page just after my cover, and I'm going to add another blank page after my inspirational quote, just to keep everything aligned the way I feel I'm going to print this. You decide on your own whether you need blank pages or not. I'll leave that up to you and to your design. Now, how do you insert a page? You can just place your cursor right in between two pages, and what you'll see is a plus. And then you can just click that plus sign, and that will insert a blank page. Now, let's go back to those blank pages, because what you might want to do is you might want to go back to those pages and just put a little bit of text on those pages saying, this page left intentionally blank, right? Because you don't want people to think like, oh, was that a mistake or something? So let's add some text and we'll say, this page left intentionally blank. And I'll do the same on the other page that I left blank. Now I'm going to scroll down to January and I'm going to take a copy of that heading and I'm going to paste it on my page because I want to create my daily planner. My daily planner is going to be like a daily devotional page. And I'm going to have certain things on there that I'm going to want to do every day. So it's kind of like a reminder page. I'm going to move this text box up and then I'm going to add another text box just underneath because I want to, on my daily page, be able to indicate what week it is. Because my plan at some point is to take my daily page and my weekly page and copy them as many times as there are weeks in a month. So I'll have like a little area there just to say week of and write that down with pen and paper. I'm going to take a copy of week of now just so that I can have a little area just underneath there just to remind myself every day to be grateful and what I'm grateful of this week. So I'll write that text there and then I'm going to go over to elements and I'm going to place a shape on my workspace so that there's a little area to write in. Now, when I say shapes, I mean shapes under the category shapes, not a shape that was created as a graphic. I'm going to crop this square now, and I'm going to reduce the rounding just a little bit. I'm also going to take the text and just move it up. And I'm going to go to colors of the shape and I'm going to change the shape color to transparent. I'm going to add a border, and for that border, I'm going to make it a little bit thinner, maybe a border weight of 2. And I'm going to change the color of that shape to transparent. Now that I have that ready, I'm going to go ahead and create a table for the next part, which is to keep track of scriptures and passages that I want to read for the week. So I placed a table from elements in there. And I'm going to change the borders to a border weight. And I'm going to make it the table a little bit larger. So I'm going to grab it by the end and I'm going to extend it across to the edge of my guide on the left side. So I sort of want to have the different scriptures and passages in my first column, and then have all the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then be able to check off what day of the week I'm going to say those passages. So as you see, I'm clicking the 3 ellipses, and then I'm saying add column, and now I'll just resize that table and bring it all the way to the edge. Now I'm going to grab the corner and move it to, now I'm going to grab in the middle and just move it to the side. And because the largest area is going to be the first column, I'll just expand that back to the left side. And now I'll just add a few headings where the columns are. Now I've missed one column, so I'm just going to add one more column in there. And now I'll just go back and add my headings. Now, when you're adding the days of the week, just make sure that you are being consistent with the rest of your planner. So my planner is starting on Sunday. So I want to make sure that I'm following the same pattern: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm just going to adjust the alignment there to make it left aligned. And I'm going to try and reduce the spacing in between the rows, just so that it can fit more on the page. So I'm going to go up to Table and change the spacing. Now you'll notice that I can't go any further, so I do have to go back up to my floating menu and go up to the spacing icon. That's the icon next to the table. I'm going to add another shape to my, just below the table. So I'm just going to take a copy of the first shape and paste it down below my table. So I'm just dragging that. I made a copy and I dragged it all the way down. And I'm going to change that to reflect goals and intentions for the week. So again, my daily devotion page is just reminders of what I'm going to do the whole week. And I can place that here and fill it in. And every day I could just go to this page for that specific week and take a look and see what my plans are for the whole week. I'm going to add another area by copying and pasting the same shape and text box for prayer requests. So I'll go back, I'll take a copy, and I'll paste it again. And I'm going to change that text box to read prayer requests. Now below this box, I'm going to have another box for inspirational quotes. So I'll do the same thing. I'll repeat copying and pasting the next box. So I'll paste the next box, and I'll bring it down, and I'm going to change the text to read confessions/repent. Now I did want to add one more box below, but I've kind of run out of space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything on my page, all those shapes, and I'm going to crop them at once. So let me show you. So if you are clicking your mouse and with your shift key, you can grab everything And then again, you can just take a copy of the next box and you can paste. So I'll take a copy of the box above and then just paste it and move it down below underneath it. And I want to make that a square instead of a shape with rounded corners. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to go to the floating menu up top. And I'm going to go to the corner rounding and reduce that all the way to 0. And that will make my shape square. Now I'm going to click in there and I'm going to change the text to read inspirational quotes. Now I know that my shapes are not extended to my right side, so I'm just going to take each one and just drag them right to the edge. It's real simple. You just grab that handle in the middle and you just extend it. And now for the table, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that table and move it all the way to the end. And then I'll just resize it from the left side because I know I want more space on the left instead of on the right. So it'll be less work for me to do it this way than to extend it from the left side. Then I'd have to adjust all the columns. I hope that makes sense to you. So we're just about done our daily devotion page. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add another page. And on this page, this is going to be our weekly planner. So I'm just going to come back up and I'm going to take a copy of my titles and paste them on page 9. And I'm going to click in that text box and I'm going to change it to weekly planner. Now, since these two pages are going to be facing pages, I'm not really sure whether I need that week of, because those two pages are going to be open right in front of me. So I may delete week of, I'm not sure at this point. So I'm going to go over to my elements section and I'm going to add another shape. So I'll just go back up and I'm going to add a shape where the corners are rounded. And I'm going to bring that up and pretty much do the same thing that I did before. So I'm going to make this shape a little bit larger. I'm going to extend it on the side. I'll go up to the floating menu and I'll change the color of the shape to transparent. And now I'm going to change the border and add a border. And I'm going to reduce the border weight to 2 to be consistent with the rest of the pages. Now I'm just going to take a copy of one of the text boxes just to be consistent with the font that I'm using. And I'm going to take that text box and just move it all the way up into that shape. And I'll change it to Sunday because we're starting the week off with Sunday. So I'm just going to reduce it a little bit and I'm going to take a copy and I'll put Saturday at the bottom. I want to have more space for Sunday and Saturday. And then all the other days of the week are going to occur in between, but obviously they're going to be smaller shapes. So I'm just going to try and figure out how much space I need in between. So I'll just add a few shapes in there and I'll align them as best as possible. Now I'm going to go back up to Sunday and I'm going to take a copy of that text box and then I'll add it all the way through and change all of the days of the week accordingly. All right, so now we finished creating our daily reminder page and our weekly planner. Let's take a look at grid view to see what we have accomplished so far. So we've got our cover page, our motivational quote, we've got the year to date for 2025 and 2026. We have our January, all the months here, and we have our daily devotional and our weekly planner. So it's now time to get back to the monthly view. And one thing that I like to do when I'm creating the monthly view is actually add the following month. So for January, I'll add February. So I'm going back to the yearly to grab and copy February so that I can add it to that January monthly planner. So I'm going to highlight all of February, and I'm going to press Control C, and I'm going to go over to the monthly view and I'm going to paste February there. And I'm just going to handle that monthly and try and crop it. Now, I'm not really liking it up there in the corner, so I may move it down to the bottom corner, and I'll just grab it and just move it down and leave it right there. Now I'm going to add another guide. And the purpose for this guide is to tell me where I've placed that monthly calendar on each page. That way, when I go to copy and paste March, I'll know approximately where I put it on my monthly. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy January and place it on my weekly planner. Because when I'm looking at my weekly planner, I want to be able to see all of the weeks in the current month. So I'm going to paste that and move it all the way to the top right corner. And again, I'm going to handle it by the corner so that I can crop all of it at once. We're going to go back to grid view now, and we're going to figure out how many of those pages we need for January. So January, we've got about 4 weeks in there. So I'm going to take a copy of those 2 pages, and I'm going to paste another 3 copies for the month of January. In fact, I'll add another copy in there to make it 5 weeks, because the person who's using this planner isn't going to have the planner for the previous year. So we need 5 weeks. Now what I'll do is I'll take one more copy and add it to February, one to March, one to April, May, June, July, and onward. That way I can work with those 2 pages and then copy and paste the revised pages in each month rather than just doing 1 month at a time. It's more efficient to prepare those 2 pages per month than it is to start all over from the beginning, if that makes sense. All right, so I have finished creating all of my months and my daily page as well as my weekly planner page. So here is a summary of everything that we have done so far. We've done our cover page, we've added a little quote, we've done our yearly 2025 and yearly 2026. We've done all of the months in a month view. We've created a daily page and a weekly page. Now the daily devotion page is going to be slightly different than the weekly planner page. The daily devotion page is just going to be a page where we're going to place the things that we're going to be doing throughout the week. And then the weekly planner is going to be a space where we might have appointments or reminders that are specific to days. So that's the difference between these 2 pages. This was just my concept. You might have a different concept, and I'll leave that up to you. Now, the other thing that I want to just give you a few tips on is that to be happy with the font that you're using before you start making copies. Be happy with the font, the color, where you have placed your month, because if you change your mind later on, after you've made all those copies, because right now I'm at 123 pages, that means I have to update it, at least 100 times. I have to go and change manually 100 times everything. So just be careful that you are liking everything that's on the page before you start making copies. The next idea I had was to create a couple of checklists. And at this moment, I'm going to be placing these checklists at the end of all of my planning pages. So at the end of the journal, I potentially might move it up to just before the months begin. So the next thing that I want to do is kind of have a page where I can jot down the prayers that I want to recite on any given day. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to come back up here and trying to maintain consistency. I'm just going to copy that and bring that down here. Now this is a checklist, so really I only need one of these. So what I'm going to do is just double click in here and just say daily prayers, daily prayers. And you can, I guess you could even say my daily prayers. And if you want, we don't need week of, because this is going to be like a static thing. So I'm just going to leave it at my daily prayers, and I'll just leave it at that. The next thing that I want to do is I want to add some boxes, because in each box I want to kind of write a subheading of what that prayer is. So I'm just going to come to Elements, and I'm going to click put a shape on my workspace with rounded corners. And I'm going to move that shape right up here. Now I want 8 boxes. So I'm going to have to just make sure that those boxes will fit on my workspace. And so what I'll do is I guess I'm going to eyeball it, and I'll just see if that's going to fit. And I'm going to select them all. And then I'm going to click these 3 dots, and I'm going to go to Align Elements, and I'm just going to make them larger like that. Okay, so there are my boxes. Now, before I proceed, I'm just going to put a border around them. And I'm also going to make them transparent like that. And if you want to, at this point, just decrease the border weight, you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, now I'm going to add some text in there before I create my other side. I'm just going to add some text, and I'll place that in the middle here, and I'll just make that a tad bit smaller, and put that there. And now in this text box, let me close that. I'm going to put prayer when I wake. And then in here you can, write out what prayer you want to say when you wake up, what prayer you want to recite. So I'll just take a copy of that, and I'll bring that down here, and I'll double click in there, and I'll update this to that. I'll make another copy and bring that down here. And for my last one, prayer for thanks. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller, and I'm going to make those a little bit larger. And I'm going to grab all of those, and I'm just going to duplicate them. So I'm just going to press duplicate, and I'll put them right over here. And I guess we're noticing that they are too wide, so I'll just reduce those. It'll just take a sec here. And I'll just move those over like that. And do that. All right, so, and now I guess I have to go in here again and just update those. Now that line is just telling me that the text boxes are centered. That's what it's doing. So let me just click in there and change that, and then I'll adjust it. Okay, so I have my prayers here ready. Maybe I'll just bring this down a little bit like that, so it doesn't look like it's so far apart. All right, so I'm ready for my next page. So my next idea was to have a checklist which you could use to check off all of the sections that you're reading in the Bible, either the New Testament or the Old Testament. If you're reading Genesis, all the different verses of Genesis, or the different Gospels in the New Testament, according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, what have you. Now, my initial thought was to do this checklist in Excel, but things didn't work out that well. Now, initially, I thought that I could just open up an Excel spreadsheet and I could do the checklist or the number portion of the checklist in Excel. So I could start in column A1 with 1, and then in cell B1, 2, 3, and so forth, and then just block those and extend them to autofill the rest of the numbers. But things didn't work out so well, because when I took the numbers and then pasted them back into Canva, there was a lot of work that needed to be done with the cell spacing. I decided to, rather than copy and paste rows and cells, to just do the whole checklist in Excel. And I decided to place the book on the left-hand side with the numbers going across. And what I want to do is I have converted this to a PDF, and I'm going to convert this PDF to a JPEG. So I'm going to a site called I Love PDF, and I'm going to convert the PDF to JPEG. So I'll select that PDF file, which is right here, my Bible checklist for planner. I'm going to open it. And I'm going to convert to JPEG. And then I'm going to bring that into my Canva document. So there it is right there. It is in the format of a zip file. So I'm just going to extract that. And here it is right here. And I'm going to go into my Canva. And I'm going to bring those documents in. So let me just minimize this. And I'm going to bring in those 3 pages. It worked out to be 3 pages. So here they are right here. And it's just finishing up, uploading. And so this is the first one I want to bring in. And that is the New Testament checklist. So I'll just minimize that a little bit and crop it. And I'll make it larger and just like fit it in to my space. And I'll write a title page called the New Testament. So I'm just going to go grab this heading here, Control copy, and I'm going to paste it here. And I'll just write the New Testament. And I'll just make that a little bit smaller and bring it down a little bit. And I'll just line that up a little bit more. You can use your Control key to help you with that. Okay, so this is my first checklist. Okay, so I'm now on page 125, and I kind of need to bring in my second and third. I'm going to copy this and I'll paste it here, but now we're going to bring in the checklist for the Old Testament. All right, so that will be this one here. This is the Old Testament, and I'm just going to crop that a little bit like that. And I'll place that to the side. And I'll resize it to make it fit a little bit better in my page. Now, obviously, it's not going to be the same size. If I want it to be the same size, then what I could do is just keep resizing it until it's approximately the same size as the other checklist. And then I can just crop it a little bit and then repeat that particular checklist on this page. So I'll bring it back, but I'll crop it to where I stopped on the first page. So it would have been around there. So there was Esther, and then the next one was Job. So I'll just bring that up there like this. And I'll just resize this so that it's the same size as my previous page. And I'll just grab these two and I'll paste them here again. Now I'm going to finish up the rest of the checklist. I'll tidy it up and I'll be right back. So that's the Bible checklist. And when you're creating the Bible checklists, you can either make a few copies in your journal, or you can just leave it as these 3 pages and have people make copies as they need them. So that's a preference that you can decide upon. Do you want to just have 3 pages, or do you want to have more than 3 pages just in case someone happens to read the whole Bible before the year is up? You want to have you want to have duplicates of this checklist in your journal or your digital journal. Okay, so I have a few more things that I want to add to this prayer journal. Is a listing of prayer requests. So for example, if a friend or a family member comes to you to say, will you pray for me? Somewhere where you can jot down those prayer requests, the date, and what the outcome was. So that's one other kind of list that I do want to have in this journal, which will prepare next. All right, so I'm going to start by copying my heading. That one is a little large, so I'm just going to go back to a previous one here. I'm going to copy that one. And I'm going to copy this one here. And I'll use both of those. So I'm just going to go back to my page 127. I'm going to add a new page. And I'm going to paste those headings. And this is going to be my prayer requests. And in here, I'll just say, and outcomes. Because I'm going to want to know what the outcomes are of my prayers, right? Everyone wants to know that their prayers have been successful for one reason or another, especially if you believe in a higher power. So I'm going to create a table and place a table in here so that there's a little bit of writing space that's lined. So I'll go into my elements and I'm going to search for a table. And I really just want one cell. And then repeating rows. Now, you can also go to elements and search for lines, and you can get something. I don't know why that reset, but because it went to projects, okay. And you can use something like this instead. But keep in mind that this is an element, someone created this element, and you wouldn't be able to provide your document as a PDF if you're using this. If you're providing a template link, then yes, you can just go ahead and use this. But I'm going to show you how to create your own lines in Canva using a table. So I only need one cell and a repeating row. So I'm just going to get rid of the other columns. So I'll delete, and then I'll delete the other column like that. And I'll make this wider like this, but obviously I'm gonna have to reduce the spacing in between. So I'm just going to try and collapse the spacing. And then if you want to collapse the spacing even more, you can come into table spacing and you can just reduce the spacing all the way like that. And then we can just reduce it even further by grabbing that corner. So I'm pretty okay with it looking like this. I want to add a little bit of text in there. So what I'll do is I'll make this a little bit larger just so that we can see it. And I'm going to add a little bit of text. So I'll just add a subheading, and in here I'm going to write requested by. And I want this left justified. And I'm going to make this a lot smaller. Okay, so I'll just make it that small. And I'll make a duplicate of this. And in here, I'll type reason for prayer. And I'll make another copy. And I'll say outcome. And I'll make another copy for the date. And I'll just take these now and just bring them into my table. You can also type in there and place text in each of these cells, but I'm choosing to create a text box and then put it in there and lock it all in place. And I'll just put this requested by here. I'll put reason for prayer. And I'll put outcome. And maybe I'll just add another text box for notes. Now you can also add more space. If you want to add more space, just type in there and just press enter a couple of times. So you may want to add more space where notes are like that. And once you have all that figured out, you can just take all the text, if they're in the position that you want it to be, and you can select all of them by clicking and keeping your shift button pressed. And remember, if you can't get to those text boxes or you're finding it difficult, just go over to position, go to layers, and just click all of them. Okay, and then you can group them, and you can also just make a copy and move that copy down. Now, unfortunately, you can't group text with tables, but that's okay. So I'm just going to make a copy of that table and bring it down and layer it like I did above. And I'll make another copy and another copy. And so we have 4 on our page. And that's okay because we'll probably not have that many prayer requests. So I'll just duplicate this one again and place it here. And I'll duplicate it again and place it over here. Okay, so we're done our page for our prayer requests. Let me just move this over a little bit so that it looks like it's lined up with the other ones. Okay. And so now you have a choice. So you have your prayer requests page in your journal. You can make a couple of copies for your journal so that the buyer or the user has a few templates in there. Or you can just leave it as one page and have the end user make as many copies as they want. So that choice is yours. Just like we did for the Bible checklist. We're only providing one copy of the Bible checklist, and then the person can make as many copies as they want. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add another page for goals for the year. And before we go on, I'm just going to move these up because it looks like one more will fit in there if I try hard. And I'll just make a copy of that and bring that down here and put that there. So now we've actually been able to fit 5. So let me add another page for our next insert in our journal, and it's going to be goals for the year. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm just going to take a copy of that title. I'm going to bring it down here and I'm going to paste it. And now I want to place, so let me just revise that to say goals for the year. And I want to have a main goal and then goals per month. So again, I'm going to go to my shapes. Let me clear that search bar, and I'm going to place a shape on my workspace. And I'm going to extend that like this. And I'm going to add a border. And that border is black. I just want to reduce the border weight a little bit. And I'm going to go to that shape color and make it transparent. And I'm going to add a little bit of text in there as well. So I'm going to say goals for main goal. And I'm going to decrease that font. And I'm going to left justify like that. And I'm just going to make that smaller and put that right in there to see how it looks. Now, if that's too big and you want to decrease it, we can decrease it even further so that we can have a little bit more writing space in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a copy of that, but I want to set up my monthly goals as well. So I'm going to have a box for every month of the year. So I know that that is my center. I'm just going to go in a little bit more to add or leave more space. And I need to fit 6 in there. So let me see what happens when I add 6. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they could be a little bit larger. So let me make them larger like that. Okay. And I guess I could make them even more larger if I decrease the spacing a little bit more. So I'm going to do that. And let me just show you a quick tip. So I'm going to select these all and I'm just going to make them larger like that. Now you'll notice that they're not exactly evenly spaced, but I've got them all selected. And if I go to the ellipsis here and I select space evenly, I can tidy them up so that they're all evenly aligned and there's the same amount of space throughout all of the boxes. And now what I'm going to do, now that I have them evenly spaced out, I'm going to select them all and I'm going to make a copy and put that copy over here on this side. All right, now if you want to make them a little bit larger, all you have to do is just select them all and just extend that like that. Okay, now it's time to add the text that's going to indicate the month. So I'll just say January, and I'll take a copy of that, and we'll just take copies all the way through. And now we'll take a copy of those again. So I'm clicking and pressing Shift, and I'm just going to take a copy, and I'm just going to move those over here so that I don't have to retype those text boxes again. And so I'll just double click in there and type February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, all the way to December. All right. Now I keep thinking that this is actually the bottom of my page, but it's not because I have a little bit more space down here. So I'll just grab the boxes and not the text. So Control and Shift again, and I'll just make them larger like that. And yeah, I do have to now move the text. It's no big deal. So again, click and Shift and move it down, click and Shift and move it down. Okay, so now we have our main goal up here and then goals per month. Okay, now part of a journal, and actually this page should actually be closer to the top of your journal. So in line with that, I'm going to create another page. And on this page, so that we can have two pages side by side, I'm going to create a page that just reflects on the previous year. And I'll just change this to accomplishments. And I'm going to add, I'm going to copy this and bring it down here. And I'm going to change this to looking back to 2024, because this is a 2025 planner, or you can just leave it at looking back. So basically these are the goals that were actually met in 2024. And you might want to have just a little bit of text in here that says, and you might want to have that text just a little bit smaller like that, so that it doesn't actually look like a heading. And then put some lines, so we can go in here and we can actually just put some lines in here. Like this. And if your thing squiggles back and forth, just hold down the Shift key to make a straight line. We're also going to decrease the line weight to small like that. And we're just going to make some copies like that and make more copies. Like that. And you can space this out however you want. You can even grab a couple and you can just quickly make a page like this. All right, so that is the page where you're going to jot down your accomplishments last year. So finally, the last page that I would add is like a scribble page, like an area for notes. And basically, I'm just going to copy that heading and come in here and just paste it. And I'll just revise this to say notes. And again, you can have just one page as the template in here, or you can put several pages in your journal for the end user. Placing only one page and then allowing the end user to copy that obviously is going to save space in your file, but I'll leave that up to you, whether you want to duplicate this page 20 times or whether you want to leave it to the end user to do. All right, now I mentioned earlier that we should probably move the spiritual goals for the year and accomplishments looking back at 2024 near the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the grid view. And with the grid view, you can see all the pages in your planner. And those two pages, either want to move them before my 2-year layout or before January. So I know these two pages I want to have side by side when I'm looking at it. So then January would be on my right side on the previous page with 2026 And then 2025 would be again on my right side with a blank page facing my 2025. So essentially, I could move one of the pages up top and then change that last page to looking back at 2025. I could do that. And so really that's up to you. Again, this is personal preference. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate this page and bring in my annual goals for 2025 up here. And then my other page I'm just going to have at the end as a looking back. So I'm going to go here and to the bottom of my planner, and I'm going to grab this page here, which is the spiritual goals for the year. And I'm going to move that up to the top. So I'll just bring it up to the top. I'll just drag it right up to the top, right before that blank page, and then I'll eliminate that blank page here. So we're pretty much at the point where we are finished our planner, and I did add some more images to my title page because my plan is to provide this planner to you. If you want to edit it and sell it as your own, you're free to do that. However, you'll have to make significant changes to the planner in order to sell it. And again, remember that because there are some Canva elements in here, specifically the cover page includes that element with the stained glass, you're going to have to provide this as a Canva template link. Now, one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of the tutorial was that I wasn't sure whether I was going to be creating this as a printable planner or a digital planner. And I'm at the consensus that I'm going to be providing this as a printable planner. But I wanted to show you how you could convert this to a digital planner. And there are a couple of options here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new page just for the sake of showing you how to create a digital planner. And normally digital planners are prepared in a way where they look like a book. So they'll have like a spine here and a white square background so that you can hide tabs. So if I try and build a digital planner, we would look for a spine or a binder coil. So like this. And then you could place that here and make that a little bit larger like that and just have that to the side like that. You would quite possibly add a white square as your back like this, and just leaving enough room for the tabs going along the edges. You might shade your background a different color, like for example, purple. Like for example, you might want to retain this stained glass look, in which case I'll just come down here, take a copy of that, and come on this page, and I'll paste that. And then I'll make this white to make it look like the appearance of a notebook, a digital notebook. And then you would grab your tabs. So then you would put some shapes in here, and you can use shapes, or you can search for tabs and use tabs. But then these would go in behind here because you'd have to hide the bottom part. So you could have that like that. And then position that in behind your page there. And then you could put a text box and add some text in there. For example, you could, in the first tab, put yearly 2025. And I'll make that a little bit smaller, obviously, because it has to fit in that tab, right? And move that over right in the tab. And it might mean that you might have to make that tab a little bit larger, right? In order to fit that word. And let me make this larger so that you can actually see. So there would be my first tab. And so how do you connect this tab to the pages? Well, you would have to go and you would have to actually name your pages. For example, I'm just going to scroll down to my 2025 yearly, and I could name this yearly 2025 because that's what it is, right? This is my yearly 2025. This is my yearly 2026, but I'm just going to name this page just to show you how to complete the linking. So let me come back up here to my tab and try not to link to the year, because what will happen is you're going to get that underscore that you get when you hyperlink. It'll be underlined. Instead, link to the actual shape so that you don't get that underline. So to link, just click on the three dots and look for the link option, and then you're going to link to your yearly 2025. And now it's linked. It's done. How do you know that it's linked? Well, because number one, when you're hovering, you'll see yearly 2025. So you can just go right to that page. Another way of checking is just going into full screen mode. And then you can just check your links by clicking on it. You see right there, I know that there's a link. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see it's linking to another page. If I click here, though, that link is not active. And that's because we linked it to the shape, not the year. And again, that's your choice. If you want to hyperlink to the year, you're welcome to do so, but you're going to see an underscore underneath yearly 2025. Instead, it's linked to the shape. So when I click the shape, it's going to go to my 2025. Okay, so I hope that explains that. So you can't really create your tabs and your linking until you're finished creating your journal, because you're not going to have your page names completed until all of your journal is completed. So this is really something that happens at the very end, where you are creating all of your tabs. And then once you're done creating your tabs, then what you need to do is you can group them all together and then select them. And then you can copy and paste them on every single page. Okay, that's how you would create your tabs. So I am going to create the tabs just so that you can see what that looks like. And I'll be right back. All right, so I finished linking up all my tabs. So the final thing that you want to do is you just want to make sure that each tab is linking to the right page. So yearly 2026. And when you click, you can see that because the hyperlink is highlighted in blue, Bible checklist. And you can check that again by going into full screen mode and making sure that they link up properly. So you could just move from one tab to another and just make sure that those tabs are linked properly all the way through. Now, the next step for the planner, for a digital planner, is to take everything on this page and to copy and paste it on 130 some other pages. There's no shortcut here. This is what's left for you to do. So this is how I would do it. I'm just going to reduce this. Now, I'm not going to do this for every page because my planner is going to be a printable planner. And the other thing that you need to just be weary of is the fact that you potentially could run out of file size, which you won't be able to complete this. Remember, the Canva file can only be a certain size. And once you hit that maximum, you won't be able to do anything in your planner. So you might not be actually able to do this. If your plan is to create a planner with a lot of elements and links, you're better off doing it in something like PowerPoint. And I do have a video specifically for that. But if you want to do this and you had a small planner, what I would do is just select everything on your page. And you'd have to do this in stages because you can't grab that background. So you'll have to do the tabs first. And then hopefully, if you know that you're going to be doing a digital planner, you'll have that background already duplicated throughout, so you won't have to worry about the background. That's why it's so important to think about what's your planner going to be at the concept stage, then in the middle or at the end. But the tabs, definitely, you can't do that until the end. So what I would do here is just copy everything on the page and just select Control-C to copy, and then go to my page, and you can do that to any of these other pages too. But I want to show you what that would look like on this page. And then I would just Control-V to paste. And then once you've pasted it on your page, I would come up to the three ellipses. I would go to Layer, and I would say Send to Back. And that will send it completely to the back. And you'd have to repeat this for 130 some odd pages. So I hope that this makes sense to you. If it doesn't, just leave me a comment in the comment sections, and I'll be happy to help you. Now, before you offer this as a purchase to a buyer, one thing that you will want to do, or whether it's a buyer or you're creating this for personally, you want to make sure that the links are going to work, especially if this is a digital planner. And how do you do that? Well, you can come over here to Share, to Download, and you'll want to download this as a PDF. And you'll download all of the pages. You can say Done, and then you can download the whole file, and that will download into your Downloads folder. All right, so here is that file right here. Now you'll remember that I only created one page of tabs. Well, two, if you include that other page that I copied my tabs to. But so you'll want to make sure that all the tabs are working. And of course, there is no way to get back to this page because I didn't carry through all the links throughout, but that's something that you're going to do. So for example, when I click on 2025, it'll take me to 2025. And if this was a real digital planner, it would have all the tabs here as well, so that I could click back to the home page. But you'll want to go through and just make sure that all of these links are working properly. Okay, now if you're not going to provide this as a digital planner, then you'll want to also leave instructions to the buyer of how they can print it. And how can they print it? Well, they can come over to Share, and they can also download this as a PDF, a JPEG, or a PNG, and then they can print it from Adobe, like we just saw. In our document here, we have 131 pages. They could just come here and they can just print the entire document. Or they can send it off to be printed professionally. So I hope this makes sense to you. Again, if you have any comments, you can leave them down below. And that pretty much completes how to create a prayer journal, the steps involved, and how to convert that prayer journal to a digital planner if you wanted to do that. If you learned anything in this video, please don't forget to press that like button and subscribe. I've got a whole bunch of different communities. If you're interested in joining communities to create planners or communities to learn Canva, look at my About section and you can join any one of those communities. Also, if you're interested in learning more about Canva and getting one-on-one support, join my YouTube channel membership. I go live every Tuesday and give personalized feedback, and there is a level that's right for everyone. So check that out. For now, my friends, I will say bye-bye until next time.